You got that something that can't be seen. You got that one thing.
Hi and welcome to this extraordinary video. I have been tagged by Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah for the challenge of 10 crafty questions. So let's get right into it, and so that you don't get bored just looking at a blank screen, you can watch me add some more goodies to my no-sew junk journal, which is quite full, and I'm just adding wonderful goodies that I've been sent in the last couple of months, I'd say. Smaller items that came in the mail from you lovely viewers. So yeah, enjoy that while I answer the questions as shortly as I can. So starting off, my name. So my name is Barbara. My very close friends also call me Babsi, which is also fine. A name that I do not like at all is Barb, so please do not call me Barb. I have no middle name. I always kind of felt deprived because both my brothers have middle names. But over time, I've learned to appreciate that I only have one name for the simplicity of it, and especially when filling out documents, it's quite convenient to have a short name. My last name I feel is not really relevant for this channel, so I won't go into that. Second question is, how did you come up with your YouTube channel name? So this is actually quite an interesting little story. The name, I would say, found me because it just kind of popped into my head when I was thinking about names, and I just couldn't shake it off, and I didn't know why. But it felt so right, and it was at a time in my life where I desperately needed a change, especially in my professional life. I had been working in office jobs all my adult life, and my body had been signaling me for quite a while through anxiety attacks and burnouts that I need to make this change as soon as possible and to follow my passion of creating. So when I looked up what the dragonfly symbolizes, it said the following. In almost every part of the world, the dragonfly symbolizes change, transformation, adaptability, and self-realization. The change that is often referred to has its source in mental and emotional maturity and understanding the deeper meaning of life. So that was amazing. And a few days later, I went to meet my bestie for a coffee, and we talked about the name, and I asked her, well, what do I tell someone who asks me why the 49? And we both sat there and we were thinking for a bit, and she asks me, wait, what's your age at the moment? And I had to laugh because yep, it was 49, and I had never actually made that connection for some reason. So that was a perfect name, and the realization of how perfect my name was, and it wasn't only my channel name, this was supposed to be my brand name, made me so emotional. It was like it was out there waiting for me to just claim it as mine. And so I actually had tears in my eyes when I had that realization, and I ordered some champagne for us and we toasted to this, and it was a very, very special moment in my life, obviously. Next question, your favorite type of craft. So this has changed a lot through the years, and if you want to learn more about my creative journey or myself as a person, I will link 2 videos that I've already posted a few months ago about these 2 topics, because I don't want to go into too much detail here. So to keep it short, currently my love is in paper crafts, junk journals especially, making ephemera, journaling in the junk journals, and also making them myself. Next question, what is your favorite place to shop for art supplies? So I love flea markets, Goodwill, and thrift stores for old books, papers, postcards, lace, and fabric. I also used to order a lot of supplies from AliExpress. I actually have quite a few haul videos on my channel, but I actually rarely order from them now because I enjoy using vintage items more than the, let's say, new items. I also buy from Amazon things like boring things like printer cartridges, and printer paper, maybe a paper trimmer, punches, and yeah, I also buy my Tim Holtz paper pads from there because that's the only place I can get them. I also do have a local art supermarket where I buy paper, markers, calligraphy supplies, watercolors, and things like that. My favorite colors. I love pink, especially a muted dusty pink. I used to love turquoise a lot. It's still a color I really like a lot, but for crafting, I'm moving more and more towards neutral colors and muted tones. I do not enjoy bright colors like bright yellow or orange, like your typical fall colors, unless they're like really muted, or a mustard yellow is nice. But I do love a nice red. Next question, favorite tools to craft with. Oh my god, there are so many. So let's start the list. If you know my channel, you know I cannot live without my vintage photo distress ink or distress oxide. I love my washi tape to death. I love my tab punch, my crocodile, my paper trimmer / scoreboard from We Are Memory Keepers. Can't live without my glue stick. Love my tearing ruler, and all these links to these tools, except like glue stick, are actually linked below if you're interested. Bone folder, my stamps, especially my wooden stamps, although the clear stamps I find a lot of times more practical because you just see exactly where you stamp. Lately, I also love my calligraphy tools because of the course I'm doing. I love my die cut machine, and I dearly, dearly love, if you could call that a tool, maybe it's more a material, but I'm gonna add it here, my Tim Holtz paper pads, especially the memoranda one. Oh my god. So next question, where do you get your craft love from? I'm actually not sure, because the women in my family, my mom, my grandma, and my aunts, were always into knitting and embroidery and cross-stitching. And my mom always had a project going and knitted and sewed for us children. And she sewed a lot of clothes for herself as well. So I picked up knitting and embroidery from her, but I never actually enjoyed sewing because it seemed like so much work with all the measuring and the ironing in between and all the needles to hold everything in place. It just seemed so much work. But I do love paper sewing or sewing fabric on paper. I don't know why, but there's something magical about that. I just really love it. I did keep diaries since middle school, adding drawings, cutouts from magazines, and stickers, kind of like a junk journal today. I also loved art in school, always had a great teacher, thankfully. I did go to the American school here in Vienna, Austria. Oh, I didn't mention that, I'm sorry. I'm actually from, and I live in Vienna, Austria, just in case you are not aware of that. And art was actually the only subject in high school I ever got A's in. Later, much later, I went into photography for over 10 years. And I earned a bit on the side with events and wedding photography, and also had some of my own exhibitions. I sold macros of flowers and kitchen utensils printed on large canvases. But then I stopped because it all became too commercial and I completely lost any kind of passion for it, which made me very sad, and which kind of made me worry that I would lose my passion for the paper crafting if I made it too commercial, if I made it like if I wanted to make a living out of it, but it turns out like that's what I'm trying to do. So hopefully that won't happen, fingers crossed. Then I found my way into journaling and making journals, or art journals especially, through jennibellie. She has a YouTube channel. And then I took one of the Life Book year-long courses by Tamara Laporte, which I loved a lot. And I finally found my way to junk journaling through Naji from Amity Bloom, who I was obsessed with for quite a while, and then I never looked back. So junk journaling, I have a feeling, is it. That is my passion and my love, and cannot imagine a life without it. Next question is, when did you start crafting? So if we don't count art journaling, but really just the crafting with the junk journals, then that would be beginning of 2018. And I feel like I left out a question, and I did. I'm so sorry. I left out the question, my top 5 favorite YouTube channels. Now, the few videos from this challenge that I've seen, everybody seems to struggle with this question, as I do as well, because it's impossible to name 5, because there's so many amazing crafty YouTube channels out there, and I'm just gonna name a whole bunch. I don't care, it says 5, I'm gonna name a whole bunch here because I couldn't choose. So these are some of the ones that I have in my watch list that I watch on a regular basis, but there are more. So I'm sorry if I'm not mentioning your name and you're watching, but there's just too many. So Nick the Booksmith, Bohemian Crafting, Geeker, if that's the way you pronounce it, Amity Bloom, Johanna Clough, Gail Augustinelli, Shabbydabbydoodah, Tracy Fox, Joie DeFee, Roxy Creations, Jordan Clark, Attic Lane, Treasure Books, Wendy's Journal Adventure, Mrs. Cog, Maremi Small Art, who does more like arty stuff, like art journaling. And one you probably won't know is Job's Journal. He works in traveler's notebooks, and I find his videos very entertaining. And then I would even like to go further. I would like to mention a few smaller channels that I'm really enjoying and you might not know. So there's 3 of them I want to mention. So one is Maureen Astrid, one is Hiemstra, and one is emmalou. Emma I've mentioned a few times in my videos because she also had this list for definitions of words, which I've linked a few times in my videos. She has a free printout that I often link, so I've mentioned her. And I also want to mention 2 other YouTubers that I used to watch to death, basically. One was By Bun, and she's an amazing artist who works in journals as well, mostly spooky illustrations. And she has a whole long series of vlogs, and I really enjoyed them. But unfortunately, she recently moved to Patreon, apparently exclusively. So I miss her. And yeah, oh well. And I also, as I've mentioned before, I used to follow jennibellie, and she was the reason for my love for journals and making journals. So I have to go back to see what she's up to. I haven't watched her in a long time. So then question number 9 was and I'm not sure if I got this right. I think it was my favorite craft, but I do think that's kind of redundant. So because I feel like we've answered that already, and the answer would be junk journals. And lastly, then who do I want to tag? So I want to tag 3 people. One is emmalou, one is Maureen Astrid. I hope you guys don't hate me for mentioning or for tagging you. And the third one is Joie DeFee. I don't know, Joie, if you've been tagged before by someone else, But if not, please consider yourself tagged. I would love to hear more from all three of you about your journeys and your favorites, etc. So I hope you enjoyed this little challenge, and I hope to see you back in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
You got that something that can't be seen. You got that one thing that's hard to come by.